So, you managed to reach the mayor's village, only to realize he has a crap ton of bodyguards, making a head-on fight for his hat near impossible if unprepared, and now have decided that you wish to try to take things in a more subtle approach. Or perhaps you're playing with friends who hoard all the healing items for themselves and refuse to share and need to find something that can let you top off your own health bar without relying on a level up. Either way, I have the perfect character for you today. How yinz doing? I'm Ian, and this is the Streets of Rogue character guide to the Vampire.
Now, we ain't got much time, but I figure somebody should fill you in on the bare bones stuff at least. Could save your hide. You look wobbly. You even had a drink yet?
The Vampire is unlocked via destroying 20 tombstones in a single run. I strongly advise having a ghost giver on hand before you attempt doing this. This is because when you destroy a tombstone, there's a chance that a ghost will pop out of the grave you destroyed and attack you, and these ghosts cannot be hurt or otherwise impaired in their movement whatsoever by any means except via a ghost giver. If you're having a hard time finding a ghost giver to do this, I recommend selecting the Scientist as your starting character because they start with a ghost giver in their starting inventory. As for the vampire's backstory, it reads, sucks people's blood, not out of absolute necessity, but it's actually just a really picky eater. This pickiness extends to the vampire's social circles. Recently overheard, why does this zombie keep texting me to hang out? It's like, dude, just because we're both undead, it doesn't mean we're besties. All you do is whine about politics. As for your stats and starting gear, you have an impressive 4 and 3 in speed and melee respectively, with your other attributes holding an acceptable average of 2. And if you weren't handsome enough, you even start with cologne, which makes it so that NPCs are friendly to you on a given floor. This can be good for certain tasks like home invasion or walking past bouncers without needing to fight them, although personally when I get my hands on this thing it's either used to bribe NPCs for mission items, put it into air vents so that people will leave a building, or sold at the local cello-medic. The only other items in your starting inventory are 2 blood bags. These, alongside health syringes and kill-healthizers, are the only items that can heal you whatsoever due to your Gregarious trait. This trait makes it so that all healing items, except for the ones I just mentioned, don't work on you whatsoever. This can be a massive downside since bacon cheeseburgers and beer can no longer heal you, but if you're playing online with randos, this really isn't that big a deal since said online randos will be hoarding all those items before you can even find them most of the time. Thankfully, your special ability helps fix the issue of not being able to heal via conventional means in favor of giving you an alternative means of healing altogether. This special ability is called Bite. It's very easy to understand. You bite someone and drain them of blood to regain your own health. Just keep in mind that NPCs will become annoyed or even hostile if they see you do this to their friends. You cannot use this ability when you're at full HP, and you need to be behind the individual you wish to suck off in order to get their health from them. Also bear in mind that due to a lack of blood in their bodies whatsoever, robots and zombies are not viable candidates to use this ability on. There are yellow traits that can be picked up during level up that can help deal with the biggest issues of this trait or otherwise upgrade it, most notably Bottomless Stomach, which lets you drain fools of their blood even when your HP is full, allowing for easy kills in one-on-one encounters where the opposing party isn't hostile. And while RNG means that you're very likely to find one of these traits during your typical run, it's very unlikely you're going to be able to reliably get the exact one you're hoping to get on any given run. So while these yellow traits can be amazing and I strongly recommend grabbing them, since they're unlikely to show up exactly when you need them to, if at all, I will proceed with this guide under the assumption that while you might have them, you're not going to necessarily have the exact ones for any given strategy to work. Your other traits are Camera Shy and Werewolf Awareness. Camera Shy makes it so that cameras can't see you, making most forms of building security a non-issue, especially if you can combine this with a Graceful trait to make it so that lasers and pressure plates are also non-issues, meaning that when you're invading buildings, the only thing you need to concern yourself with are the NPC guards. Whilst your Werewolf Awareness trait gives you a built-in radar that lets you figure out which NPC on each floor is a werewolf, something that is mandatory for you to suss out for your big quest. Speaking of...
If God had wanted you to live, he would not have created me!
Your big quest is called Mythical Matchup. In this quest, you must find and kill a werewolf on every floor. Your Werewolf Awareness trait will be vital in finding them out since, until you attack them, they will look identical to normal NPCs. Interestingly, this quest is the only way for a werewolf to spawn naturally in the game. This means unless you yourself are playing as a werewolf, or you're doing this quest, werewolves will not appear in the game world whatsoever. Ideally, you'll end up just biting into the werewolf's neck before they have a chance to transform and drain them dry of all their blood. If you're at full health and don't have the bottomless stomach trait, you will need to actually hurt yourself through jumping through a broken window or something in order to do this. However, it is very much advised to do so regardless because, simply put, werewolves hit like a truck, and due to their high speed stat, running away simply is not an option with them. However, unfortunately, this is not always going to be an option, most commonly when they form as members of the Creeps or Bloods and have nearby gang members backing them up, meaning if you try to bite them in this situation, their fellow gang members will end up forcing you off their neck and giving them a chance to transform and kill you. So when a werewolf spawns inside a busy building where isolating them and draining them of blood in complete solace is not an option, you will have to come up with new, creative solutions. My personal favorite is to simply use the air vents to your advantage. If you put the right items inside these air vents, you can actually cause everyone in the building to fight each other. Rage poisons are the obvious ideal for this objective, but don't rule out electro pills or gigantizers to achieve a similar effect. And even if you don't want to use these drugs in the air vents to create a street brawl, you can also use them on yourself to level the playing field because werewolves are completely jacked once transformed, and you're going to need a steroid infusion to stand a chance against them in a head-on fight. Unless, of course, you are actually someone who can get good, as they like to say. This is because the werewolf you need to hunt down on every floor is an NPC, which means that they are extremely predictable once you get used to their patterns. And every melee attack in this game can be blocked by a well-timed melee attack of your own. This means if you're equipped with the proper melee weapons, you can easily kill a werewolf with no risk of hurting yourself whatsoever. However, when you realize that werewolves are only capable of fighting you via melee attacks, and how you can still use guns no matter what, yeah, let's be honest here, you're just gonna shoot them down once you get a good gun. Or just bait their attacks to hit other NPCs alongside you so that you can end up having the NPCs you are standing next to aid you in the fight. Because remember, you don't need to be the one to kill the werewolf. In order to complete this quest, all you have to do is make sure the werewolf is dead before you progress to the next floor. And there's a lot of crazy things that can happen when you're not around, such as street brawls between the Creeps and Bloods. So be sure to check your big quest in the map menu periodically to make sure that nothing happened, like them getting run over by a train or something when you're not looking. Trust me on this, I learned that the hard way while recording this because someone ended up killing the wolfie for me whilst I was doing other stuff on the floor. Another interesting way of trying to find a werewolf is to simply clone yourself a whole bunch and hope to God that one of your clones ends up picking a fight with the wrong NPC by biting into them only to cause them to transform. Because once the werewolf is transformed, they'll show up on the map menu as an orange arrow you can teleport to. Be careful if you do this, however, because clones of yourself are considered allies of yours, meaning if they decide to pick a fight with the police and the police can see you and a clone at the same time, all cops in the area will now be hostile to you and the clone, even if you didn't do anything wrong yourself. One last trick I have to share with all of yinz before we close out the video. Inside the mayor's house in the mayor's village, there's a safe, and if you can get inside that safe, there's evidence that you can play at a local DJ that will cause everyone inside the club to become hostile to the mayor and start swarming him. I strongly recommend going about this route if you're playing a stealth-based character and need to find a way around the mayor's security detail. All in all, I give the vampire a what you'd expect out of 10. You're a vampire, and this character plays more or less exactly how you'd expect a vampire to play in this game. So if the idea of being a blood-sucking undead monster appeals to you, give this guy a try. At the very least, though, you should try this character out because beating the slums with this character is required to unlock the zombie. That's all for now, though. Like the video if you did, subscribe if you don't want to miss the next one, comment what characters you want to see me cover in the future. I've been Ian, you have been you, and this has been the Streets of Row character guide to The Vampire. And stay tuned, the assassin is coming up next.